Welcome to this special edition of the AmeriCorps Connections podcast. I'm Nikki Fiacco, the host of the AmeriCorps Connections podcast. I'm excited to share a special partnership with 250 and Beyond, Our American Story, to share a series of short stories from AmeriCorps alums about what service looks like in their communities today. These voices help amplify the spirit of service and remind us that across this country, people continue to show up for one another each and every day. So what is 250 and Beyond? 250 and Beyond, Our American Story is a national initiative dedicated to making service to others visible and valued in all its forms. By reflecting on our nation's history and elevating stories today to inspire the future, we aim to realize a vision of a nation united through service. Led by a coalition of leading service organizations, 250 and Beyond is a call to action, honoring our past, celebrating our present, and inspiring the future, helping us respect our differences and transcend our divisions. For all of those national service and AmeriCorps members out there, let's keep getting things done. I hope you enjoyed this series. All right, we're back with another AmeriCorps Connections cast, and this special 250 and Beyond co-branded series. And Shelbie, who is also another AmeriCorps alum, is joining us today to be part of this special series to talk about, Shelbie, your service and what program you served in and what service and volunteerism looks like for you today. So this is about 250 and Beyond. Our country is about 250 years old. And, we were based off of service and volunteerism, not always doing things right. We just want to acknowledge that. But we want to make sure going forward, we want to continue to care for our communities and serve our communities. So, Shelbie, I'm just going to hand it over to you. Who are you? Where are you? And what did your AmeriCorps service comprise of? And what are you doing volunteer-wise?
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Nikki, for having me on this awesome podcast and this amazing opportunity. I was a 2022 American Connection fellow-member. We changed titles a little bit halfway through, as it does with most AmeriCorps programs, but I had the amazing opportunity to serve at Redbird Mission in Eastern Kentucky. I no longer live in Eastern Kentucky, sadly. I live in Fairfax, Virginia. And I am currently a philanthropy officer at a nonprofit called Reset 180. It is a nonprofit that focuses on supporting women who are leaving human trafficking situations. Our major focuses are prevention. So we do public awareness. We do a lot of advocacy work. We also work in disruption, so preventing further human trafficking issues through policy, but also direct interaction with those who are promoting trafficking and utilizing those services. And then we aim for a restorative focus, which is case management, therapy, all those things to make those women have the best shot at reintegrating back into society.
Before we get to what you're doing now, talk a little bit about what you did during your service year. You served in Kentucky, and it's crazy. Manifesting works, folks. Manifesting work. Because I was like, I haven't interviewed anybody from Kentucky. I don't know why it stuck out in my head. And I know you're not in Kentucky right now, but you did your service year there. So tell us a little bit about what you did during your service year.
Yeah, so the American Connection Corps, the main focus for them was digital equity and broadband access. So ensuring people have access to high-speed internet, they're able to integrate with today's digital fast-paced world. And a lot of what I did was advocating for my community. So I lived in Clay County in Kentucky, which was one of the top 25 poorest counties in the United States. So the average household, like 1 in 5 households, didn't have internet access. That's kind of the picture we were working with. So high poverty, limited access to resources. So a lot of what I did was just trying to bring 3 counties, Clay, Bell, and Leslie, together to create a broadband action team where they were basically forced to get along because I told them to. And you have to sit at the table and you have to play nice. And we're going to make this because we all have the same problems. So we're going to work together on this. And we were able to go for an ARC grant, which is Appalachian Regional Commission. And that's a power planning grant, which would allow a community center to be built at Redbird Mission to allow the community to have access to the computer. So a lot of people that are going back to school, or if they're college students, high school students, trying to get through that hybridized education piece. So that was another huge thing that I worked on. I also helped promote literacy in the county by partnering with Save the Children. We created 2 little libraries in Clay County, just enabling them to have access. I taught a senior digital literacy class for 2 months. That was amazing. I still have one of my students calls me like at least once a month to see how I'm doing. He's an incredible pastor down there, but he's always like wanting to check in on me. It was just an amazing opportunity to really build that community and dive into helping support a place that's often overlooked. Appalachia has had a lot of issues over the years, whether that's, cyclical poverty, drug addiction. Just it's extremely rural. It's hard to build things out there. Infrastructure builds are difficult, and a lot of times disenfranchised communities get bowled over. And that was another issue we saw a lot, where people were getting grant funds, but they weren't being properly distributed, and there wasn't proper communication with the communities where these projects were being built. So there was a lot of distrust. And so a lot of what I was doing was trying to be like, I know I'm an outsider. I'm not from this county, but I want you to know that you can trust me, that I have your back. And it's amazing. Like even now, and it's been 3 years, I'm going back in 2 weeks to go visit. So I go
Where
back
you serve. Gotcha.
at least once a year. I go back to help serve at the community outreach center and help prepare meals, go talk to the seniors at the senior center, get them updated on their technical skills. Like it's really amazing. Miss Helen, I love her. She was one of the ladies in my senior class, which I also created a Seniors for Senior program, which partnered seniors in high school with senior citizens from the senior center. And
So
it was so cute. And they were so excited. Miss Helen, she wouldn't touch technology. She was so scared. But now we take selfies together, and it's a grand time. So it's really probably one of the most impactful years of my life.
So you actually, we were talking about like service in your community, and you go back to Kentucky where you served as an AmeriCorps member to do service.
Yeah.
And volunteerism.
Yes. Yeah. I never left. I'm always, it has a special place in my heart. And there's always been that saying, like, if you walk in the creek, Redbird Creek, and you get yourself like in the water, and you're always going to come back. It's like the kind of like an Appalachian folktale, but it's true. It always calls you home.
That's so cool. I feel like I want to end the podcast here because that's so beautiful. But I don't. But wait, there's more. If you buy one of these, you get another story.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful. Oh my goodness. So you go back to Kentucky, you do this service. Tell us a little bit about your ethos of service and volunteerism. Like, how do you work it into what you do? I can imagine with the organization that you're with, that volunteers are involved. Talk to us a little bit about what volunteerism and service looks like in your sphere right now.
So right now with what we work with Reset 180, I actually help work with volunteers as a grant writer. We have 2 fantastic volunteers who help support the work we do, because the thing is, nonprofits are running on shoestring budgets, and volunteers are what make us keep the lights on. And I think there's not enough appreciation for the volunteers. Yes, a lot of them are retirees, or a lot of them are high schoolers, but they make these things happen.
Yeah.
Because if we didn't, like when I look at our budget, because that's a lot of what I do, is make sure that we can run for another year, is like a lot of it's in kind from volunteers. And that is such a blessing. I think that's the other thing of like, they care, volunteers carry so much, and they're not paid. They're just, and they're sometimes acknowledged with a volunteer month awareness. But I think that's part of the ethos is as I have volunteers work for me, I want to make sure that they feel appreciated and acknowledged for the work they're doing, because they're taking time out of their day to care about the mission that we're doing. And so that's, I don't know if that answers perfectly what you wanted, but that is what I've been working with.
Yeah. What it frames out to, as I love how you said, sometimes they're retirees, but then sometimes they are high school students. And it can be like a win-win-win with volunteering, where the volunteer is either as a retiree continuing to utilize their skills and keeping them involved with the community and having that sense of purpose and belonging. And then we have younger generations that are coming up and serving and volunteering who are gaining skills and gaining social capital and gaining networking and understanding, oh, how do you run a nonprofit? And
Yeah.
then the win-win-win-win-win part is that the nonprofit is also getting support, and then the community and the people that we serve throughout those nonprofits. So that's just really spot on for kind of what we're talking about lifting, all boats rise, right? Like,
Right. Oh, yes, absolutely. It's like tides that rise all boats. Yeah.
tide rises all boats, and that's what we want to do. And through service and volunteerism, we can definitely do that. And I've definitely felt that through some of my volunteerism, where I feel like, sadly, sometimes I'm serving a meal to folks that are just, coming off the street and want a hot meal. And I'm getting more because I'm like, that was cool because I just had a conversation with somebody that I really would have never had a conversation with.
Yeah. And like that concept of giving back and like generativity. I don't know if you're familiar with that term, but it's basically
Tell us all about that term.
yes. So I was a psych minor in my undergrad, and that was my favorite thing was social psychology. Generativity is like the aspect of giving back. You're really plugged in, you're older now, but you want to continue to be involved and engaged in your community and grow it. And so that's when I look at retirees and I'm like, those who volunteer, like, you're doing fantastic. A plus, gold stars all around. But it's also benefits them where they are not isolated. That's the other thing that runs. Like, people with low generativity rates, they tend to become more isolated. And we see a lot of that with the loneliness epidemic, and just your brain refuses to adapt anymore. There's no moldability. There's no openness to change, or just like, I'm going to continue to give and grow even though I'm older. It's a very healthy brain, really, if you have high generativity rates.
That makes a lot of sense. I'm a big believer that if you focus on something long enough and you want to learn it, you can.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I am a big believer of not arguing for your limited beliefs. Don't tell me why you can't do something. Just tell me why it's not a priority.
Ooh,
Right? Like,
yes. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because if it's something that you wanted to do or something that you wanted to be or have, you would prioritize it. So it's okay if you don't want to prioritize perfect health, or if you don't want to, it's okay. But don't tell me like, oh, I have bad knees. Well, they have rubbers. Walking's good too.
Walking's great. Running's good. Lifting, women should lift. That's my other hot take. But
I am totally into heavy lifting right now. Let's
no
go. Okay.
osteoporosis for you. Sorry.
Spin off on the AmeriCorps Connections podcast, how to get a six pack at the age of 52. I'm not 52, but I'm just saying. Getting back to service and volunteerism. So tell us, so you talked to us a little bit about how volunteers support the organization that you're with. You're going back to Kentucky to volunteer, and you already mentioned some of the volunteer projects that you focus on. Is there anything else that you would, I don't know, say to the community or somebody that's listening to this podcast about, you already mentioned the benefits of your brain and connections and everything, but what else is just, I don't know, when we think about, and I told you this before we hit recording, that I use the word fuckery that we're in right now with our community. When we're thinking about where we are with our country, how could service and volunteerism like bring us together a bit or help us with some of the social shit that we're in? I'll probably edit that.
Well, I think the hard thing is when we look big picture, we can feel like there's nothing we can do to change it. And I think that can be a very defeatist mindset. Oh, the world's so bad. There's nothing we can do. And like, for me as a Christian, I'm very much God's got this. But at the same time, it's like, we got to have trust in him. And he doesn't just say, hey, go sit idly by while everything's on fire. He's like, go fight the fire. So that's my mindset of, you have to go out and engage. Like, if you see a problem, start with your community. That's okay. You don't have to go marching into Congress and demanding policy change. You could, but like, I think that gets so exhausting. It's not sustainable. Not one person can do that. But if you want to start with your neighbor who, may need food, and you're like, I'm going to help support you through this, or whether it's a friend who's trying to navigate a job for the first time in their lives, and you're like, let me help you with a resume. Let me help you with LinkedIn. It
Love
can be
that.
something so small. It doesn't have to be a big, like, I need to set aside 5 hours a week to volunteer. It can just be those little things. And that's the spirit of volunteerism. You don't need to have the official little name tag that says volunteer, but it's giving of yourself for a cause higher than yourself. And I think that is something that our society has kind of lost in a lot of ways. I think social media has its pros and I think it has its cons. And its cons is it disengages us. Like, we're
Mhm.
just seeing pictures, we're just seeing messages, we're seeing the highlight reels of everyone's lives, and we feel alone and that we can't make things better. We see the news and we get distracted and we get defeated. But it's like, all right, let's go outside and let's talk to my community and let's, interact with one another. And the public sphere has changed. It's usually very digital, but I think when you go out, like I used to help volunteer at a homeless camp when I lived in Pittsburgh, and like talking to these people and hearing about their hopes and dreams. Like, one guy just wanted to be an artist, so I was like able to find him watercolors, and that made his day. So it's like those little things.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
it doesn't need to be grand and intense, but I think that.
I had a conversation last week. I'm recording this Monday, April 6th, and I had a conversation last week. I don't know when all of these videos are going to come out, but with Shane, and she said the same thing. She was like, and she's a Gen Zer. Yeah, she was like, it doesn't need to be formal. You just need to like go out and volunteer. I was like, right? Like, we don't need to have this form of volunteering. And I think I've said this before, but when I was serving as an AmeriCorps member, I didn't know that coaching my kids' soccer was actually volunteering. I thought it was just parenting, right? I was like, I have to be at the soccer practice. I know a little bit about soccer. I don't have a secret squirrel coffee cup. I don't really know what's in those coffee cups. So I'm going to just volunteer or I'm just going to coach. And then they were like, during my service year, they were like, you can put that on your timesheet as volunteerism. And I'm like, so it was one of those kind of like, nobody gave me a badge that said volunteer coach.
Right.
They gave me a cute shirt, but other than that, and some crazy little tykes. But to your point and Shayna's point, that just giving back to our community is something that we actually really need right now, for sure.
Absolutely. And I think we alienate each other and we other one another. And if we don't interact with them, we continue to other them. And it's like, oh, yeah, my neighbor, I don't know their names. I don't make eye contact with them. And you're like, why do I have no community? I don't know. Maybe. Hey, hi. It's okay. Not everyone's going to agree on everything together. But if we're going to hem and haw over the little things, then we're never going to move forward.
For sure. Shelby, this has been really, you gave us so much great information in such a short amount of time. I feel like we need to expand this conversation and have all this Shelby knowledge. But before we wrap, is there anything else that you want to share with folks about service and volunteerism, or anything that you want people to walk away with this message?
I want them to walk away with that you can volunteer anywhere. If you want to volunteer at Reset 180, feel free to reach out to me. But I want everyone to think of what I thought when I was going through my service year was the AmeriCorps pledge. I will carry this commitment with me this year and beyond. I will get things done. So I think that is a very important thing to carry with you. You don't have to be a AmeriCorps member to embody that. You're doing this because you love people, and you do this because you want to make the world a better place. So you can do it. It's not that hard. One day at a time.
That's so great. They'll say with all of this entire series, mic drop. Super great. Shelby, thank you so much for joining us on this special 250 and Beyond co-branded series. And if you're watching on YouTube, please hit subscribe. It like makes such a difference. Like, it's free and like boosts the algorithms, and then we can get this we can continue. I can continue this podcast because this is not cheap to do this. I know this. So let's get some love through subscribing. So thanks again. Yeah. And we'll be back with another AmeriCorps Connections as soon as I can wrangle another AmeriCorps allowance. So take care, everyone.